Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. It's Royale with Respiratory. Um, I haven't really been posting like I should, but I've been working on it. I've just been working. It's just been busy the last couple nights for me, for my three in a row that I had to do. And I kind of want to just talk about the last night out of the three that I had, um, working at the hospital where one RT has the ICU and one RT has the ER. Um, so beginning of the shift, I'm waiting on my coworkers to finish up whatever they're doing, and then they usually come back to the department and we exchange information about, what's going on in the hospital. So I get the ER, my other RT companion gets the ICU. Okay, cool. I don't really have an issue of what I'm getting. You get whatever. Um, so the RT during shift change already tells me from the get go, hey, that side of the hospital upstairs is extremely busy and you have a vent patient in the ER. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's nothing I can't handle. So we're doing report or whatever. So she's giving me report on the guy in the ER. And this particular patient, I guess, became lethargic, respiratory distress out of nowhere. And I guess maybe was thrashing because I guess they had to sedate him and paralyze him. And, they hook him up on the ventilator, tidal volume of 500, PEEP of 8 or 12 at the time. I don't really remember. Rate was like maybe 24, et cetera, all ventilator stuff. And homeboy's not necessarily doing good on the ventilator, the RT's telling me. And the only way that the RT said that she was able to get his saturations up, because he was on the ventilator, he was satting like maybe 77 to like 84. So he wasn't doing so hot on that thing. So the RT at the time, did a basque mask ventilation when you grab the ambu bag and you're actually, giving manual breaths. And that seems to have helped him, she said, during shift change. So I'm like, okay, cool. Is he stable now? She's like, yeah, he's satting now currently like 88 to 93. And I was like, okay, cool. I can live with that. So eventually I said I was going to get to the ER and take care of that patient. But I'm the type of RT where I like to do my things a little early. So I grab all my duo medicines, albuterol, pulmocorts, inhalers for all the patients and everything like that. And I go upstairs and I get started early. So upstairs is a hot mess on my side of the hospital. It might not sound like a lot to maybe some of you viewers that are new to the channel, but for maybe new RTs or seasoned RTs, I had like 5 BiPAPs, and I think a couple CPAPs or whatever, a trach lady on her trilogy, and pretty much everyone who was on their BiPAP had either fluid overload, CHF, respiratory distress, something. It was all going on at once. And some of the nurses obviously don't know what to do because they don't touch our stuff. So I got all my patients on their BiPAPs and everything. You got some patients who really should be on hospice. They're just hanging out in the hospital, and you go to their chart or whatever, and they're still a full code, and you're just like, okay. So basically when this lady is critical, she's basically near the end of her life, being like 80 something. And, she's going to be a full code. We're going to have to tube her and connect her to a ventilator. So, it's just a matter of time before all this stuff happens, because for some reason at this facility that I work at, they like to keep patients for so long. It's basically like a hospice. But I digress. So anyway, I'm taking care of all my patients or whatever that are on their BiPAPs, and they're getting their inhalers through the MDI ports and things like that. Finally get to my trach lady. Her trach is like out of her neck. So I don't know what happened, but she's asleep. Stoma, which is that little, like a little opening in her neck for the airway to be inserted for her trach, is like lying on her chest. And, you got the sat alarm going off in there, setting like 78. I mean, she's not in distress, but I mean, still, she's setting 78. So I pop in the trach again and wake her up like, hey, you gotta be more like aware of, if this is, happening a lot, because this lady has had her trach for a long time, she's told me before. But sometimes I feel like some of the patients do things on purpose to where they act like they can't really, how do I say, take care of themselves. So they want other people to do it. And this particular patient is a little sassy. So this patient will give you sass about every little detailed thing you do or whatever. And she was telling me how her Trilogy ventilator was screaming all night, whatever. And there's not necessarily a policy at this hospital to where we can't really help people on their ventilator. But I was educating her that, you got to make sure you put 10 cc's of air into your cuff, because she likes to be independent. She wants to do everything herself. She suctions herself, but you shouldn't let her do that. And I've told her, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually suction you, because she goes down her her airway and she's holding the thing at the same time, which she's just asking to vagal down. And, but back to the ventilator. She was saying that it kept saying low pressure or whatever, but it just had to do with her trach coming out of her neck, because I guess whoever has been taking care of her hasn't really been, making sure it was secure. I know you're supposed to have like 2 fingers in the neck straps or whatever, but that was the only reason why she had an issue. But she didn't believe me. She rolled her eyes or whatever. So I was like, okay, well, all right, well, you need anything else before I go? Blah, 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 blah. She said no, and basically just kicked me out of her room, which is fine. If they don't want to be bothered, they don't want to be bothered. So maybe 20 seconds after I finally finish up everything, I get a call on my actual cell phone. And my cell phone is, the person that's calling me is my coworker that night. And this particular coworker goes, where are you? Your phone's not working. Your phone is off. They need you in the ER. They've been calling you, trying to get you to the ER. Blah, 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 blah. Get down here. They want a blood gas. And I'm looking around for confirmation, like, first off, why is she talking so aggressively? So rude and condescending. And, I kind of not let the ego thing take over. And I grabbed my work phone. I looked at it. I said, it's on. She goes, it's not on. It's off. I need you to grab the eye stack, come downstairs and get a blood gas on this patient that's in the ER. So I didn't say nothing, because that was twice that she was rude for no reason. But I didn't say nothing. I said, okay. So despite of all that, I knew the phone was on, because I'm looking at it. I even took a picture of it. I can't show you guys that because I don't have access to, I'm not really good at the editing thing yet, but I have a picture of it in my phone that it was on the whole time. So anyway, I go to the ICU, get the iStat, I get the iStat cartridge, I get the needle caps for the ABGs, because apparently, like I said, the patient that's in the ER is critical, not really doing well in the vent. And, I'm grabbing all my materials that I need, and I finally get down there. There's like 5 people in the room just looking at the patient. Blood pressure's going down. Blood pressure was like 98 over 65. Saturations were like 78%. And, my partner's down there, and she's over here trying to give me the spill on what to do and things like that, and what's the situation. And during that time that my partner was down there, I mean, it didn't look like anything was being done to possibly help the patient. When I went, so I'm in the room now, I'm looking at the ventilator, we're at 100%. And the PEEP had to have been at least either 12 or 14, I don't remember, which is a lot. And I suggested, hey, why don't we do the alveolar recruitment maneuver? And she goes, okay, well, try it out. So I'm trying to figure out, like, this patient's desatting. I felt like was nothing done by the time I got down here. So anyway, I turned the PEEP up to like 20, leave it on for 20 seconds, and then turn it right back down. And the sats went from 77 to like 88, which is a major difference. So anyway, once I get his sat up like that, I get a blood gas. I'm trying to get a blood gas, and I don't have any needles, which I thought she had the needles because she wasn't really doing nothing. She was kind of just standing around. And I asked one of the sweet nurses, she's so sweet. I asked her if she could get me an ABG kit. And, she did or whatever. And she grabbed me the baby ABG kit, which, I mean, I could have used it, but it's better to get the adult one for the adults. And we're waiting for the ABG to get into the room, and my partner again goes, so why's your phone off? I'm like, my phone wasn't off, it was on. And she said, okay, well, they were trying to call you, so I mean, you need to have it on. I'm like, it was on. Like, I don't have a reason to lie about a telephone. And so whenever she started talking like that again, I just kind of zoned her out, because like I said, I'm all about patient care. I don't really care about your opinions about why a phone was on or not. And, blood gas finally comes back. Blood gas kit, and I'm getting the ABG. And I say, hey, I got this. She's over here trying to hold the patient's arm so I can get a good stick. I'm like, hey, I got it. I've said it like 3 times. So anyway, she just continues to ignore me, still holding this man's arm down. And I was like, okay, so I guess I'm just mute today, or I'm just speaking low. So anyway, finally get the blood gas. The blood gas isn't looking good. He's very acidotic, and his PO2 was like extremely low. And I showed the doctor, and the doctor believed it to be venous. And I was like, no, it's arterial. He had a low blood pressure, and I know the syringe was pumping up slow, but it's definitely not venous. And the doctor wanted me to get another one, and I did. And I got the same results for the most part. CO2 was a little bit higher. So he wasn't necessarily ventilating well. So that led to the acidosis, like I was saying. And, his oxygen wasn't the best either, even being on 100% and the people 12. So anyway, I was telling my partner at the time, I was like, I don't know why the doctor thought it was venous based on the results that I showed him. Everything matched up. And my partner goes, maybe it was venous because the syringe was pumping up slowly. And I'm looking at her, and I'm looking at the blood gas. I know the way venous blood looks, it's dark. It's extremely dark. Arterial, it has much more of a colorful look to it. And I know the doctor said if someone's on 100%, the blood would be a lot brighter, which is true. But if it's not, if the blood pressure is low, then the patient's not going to be perfusing the best blood everywhere, and it's just not going to look the way it does, even if it was on 100%. So I was just telling my coworker, I was like, okay, well, I know it was arterial, but she insisted it was venous. And, after that, I showed the doctor the second results and the same thing. He's like, okay, well, let's go up on the rate. So I took the rate up to like what? 26 to blow off some CO2, because the CO2 was like 55 on top of my head. And let's see what happened after. So when patients are in the ER, sometimes I feel like they don't get the care that they need compared to like as if they were in the ICU. So the nice nurse, sweetheart, she was telling me, hey, Royale, we basically got orders to try to get this patient upstairs if we can stabilize him down here. And like I told you guys, this man's he's not stable when he was just on that ventilator the whole time. So I took it upon myself to bag mask this patient with a PEEP of 12 on the PEEP valve, on the ambu bag. And I'm giving him breaths every 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, So his sats went from 77 all the way to 97 because I manually bagged him. And, there wasn't necessarily a way to keep him on that ventilator and transport him because he wasn't stable. This man was bound to just code out of nowhere. And imagine like his sats connected to the ventilator were so bad, and we're in the elevator and we over here doing a code in the elevator. You don't do stuff like that. So I took it upon myself to, like I said, just bag him, and we went upstairs just like that. So I called my coworker and I was like, hey, I decided to bag mask this patient, or bag the patient, because it was the only way to really get him stabilized and get him transferred to the ICU, because he would get the proper care he needed upstairs compared to the ER. And my coworker goes, well, why did you do that? Why didn't you? Okay, I'm just going to get that ventilator. I'll be up there. I'll see you. I'm like, okay, I'll see you up here. So anyway, still bagging the patient. He's satting great, 97%, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 97% doing beautifully. And as we're going upstairs, we're heading our way to the ICU. The nurse goes, "Well, what is your partner's deal tonight?" I was like, I don't know, because this particular RT is an older RT and I'm a newer RT. And I'm sure there's things that she knows, but there's things that I know too and have practiced whenever I was in school. So she's got a major jump in years, but I'm not sure, why she was so just uptight about things and just so condescending. Even whenever my partner was in the ER room, one of the nurses told me that, that she was a B word for no reason. I was like, whoa, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm just trying to take care of the patient. So finally we get to the ICU room, put the patient into the room. I'm still bagging him, making sure everything's good. Like I said, 97% when I'm bagging him myself and keeping that PEEP. I even did a procedure to where you pinch the tube to keep that, whenever they inhale, you pinch it and you unplug it and bag. Everything was good. Like PEEP was great. Not PEEP was great. Saturations were great, and just everything was moving. Everything was going so smoothly. And my coworker finally comes upstairs with the vent and finally, hooks up the patient to the vent. And once again, homeboy's going, he's declining. And what happened? I see my coworker just, well, I'm not even in the room anymore because I did everything I was supposed to do. So I'm just watching from a distance. And I see my coworker just looking at the monitor and not really, I don't know, not necessarily being a team player with anybody, just shaking her head left and right, left and right, left and right. And I was watching, I was waiting for her to try to say something slicker or something smart, because I'm at the point now to where I'm pretty knowledgeable in what I'm doing and what I know. But I'm not saying I'm perfect in everything. But if something isn't right and for someone else, but I know what was right in my book, I'm going to defend it. And I was all down for getting the patient to the ICU because, like I said, they get better care in the ICU compared to the ER. Because again, in the ER, they were just watching the patient desat at 70 something percent, you know? So the doc just wanted another blood gas, and sure enough, he's getting stabilized, he's getting the fluids, he's on pressors, you know, things are looking good. Homeboy saturations and he's on the vent, like I said. So his saturations, the last time I've seen him, so his heart rate was like 80 something. He's breathing about 26 or 28 breaths a minute. Sat in 97% on the ventilator, which is beautiful. And just like I said, just getting the care that he needed. But I felt like, how do I say this? I feel like this particular RT, I guess maybe didn't really feel competent in my ideas on how to take care of the patient versus what she knew. And that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I feel like if I didn't bag that patient, he'd probably be dead, or even coded in the ER. And after the nurses and everything finally, got the guy situated in the ICU room, the sweet nurse, she does that little hand gesture on my back and says, "Well, you did perfect. Like, you did nothing wrong. You did everything you were supposed to do," because this particular RT, like I said, was just so stuck up in her ways and just so snippy and sassy that night. And I don't feel bad. It takes a lot to get under my skin. But I just remember when I was in the ER, trying to get that blood gas, she was just yapping, not really doing much to necessarily even help me other than hold his arm. But I didn't ask her to hold her arm. I actually wanted her to go. And I remember when I was in the ER, she was like, "You want me to go or you want me to stay?" I said, "I want you to go because I got it." And then, she left and did her thing. And then I did my thing. And that's that. I'm all about patient care. That's why I'm there. I'm not necessarily there to make friends. And I have friends there. Like, there's some very good people at that hospital. People you wouldn't replace. Like, they're one of a kind. And it takes a lot to get under my skin. But that particular night, when you constantly keep saying that your phone was off when it was on, and you just it just, I don't know, it just takes a lot to get under my skin. But I'm glad homeboy's doing a lot better. I'm sure he's still on the ventilator, but it's a process whenever you're sick. You don't just get better the next day. It takes time. It takes, healing. But it was a long night that night. But in the end, you should always do what you think is best for the patient. And it's okay to get advice from older RTs, but if you know some tricks and tips and things like that, take advantage of it. Use your knowledge. Work with your coworkers and, be respectful. belittle your coworkers. Always do everything you're supposed to do and be nice and kind to them, because again, these are the people you work with, whether they're travelers or full-time, PRN, part-time, or whatever. These are people you gotta communicate with. Just because a nurse doesn't necessarily know how a ventilator works doesn't mean that they're not willing to learn or want to help you in a certain way. Don't necessarily bring an ego to work, because we're not there to have egos. We're there to take care of people. But thanks for watching. That was just kind of the vlog of the day. I go back to work again, I think on Tuesday, which I don't even know what today is, but I know Tuesday is when I go back. But just a little story about what's going on, and how tired I look from trying to get financially free or whatever. But thank you guys for watching. Just comment if you want, leave a like. That's all I ask. And hit subscribe and share my content about, working with other RTs and nurses, and, being the MVP. Thanks. Bye-bye.